No. Okay, so I am back and we're going to get this dress sewed up together. So last time I left you, we had this dress all cut out. So if you did not see that video, it's uploaded on my YouTube account, so you can go there and watch it. So the last time I left you, we had cut this dress out. So now we're gonna sew it up. Okay, so it's rolled up, it's rubber banded. I had put the skirt pieces together. Last time I showed you how I go ahead and get the pieces together. That way when I sit down or my daughter sits down to sew these, they're already together and it's no big deal. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna sew the bottom of the dress. So this is the 2 side seams. This is super fast, except it's gonna take longer because I'm talking. But I promise it's really fast. Can't see because my arm's in the way. Let's see here. Okay, so once I get started sewing, I'm going to stop ever so often and check out and see if the ends are going to line up. Because we have feed dogs on the bottom plate here that's pulling the fabric faster than the top. So you're gonna usually have, especially because it's knit, you're gonna have, the bottom is gonna be shorter because the feed dogs are pulling it faster than the top. So a lot of times what you'll have to do to counteract that is to kind of, if it's super stretchy, if it's thicker fabric, it's not really a problem. But if it's thin and like this is wanting to crawl a lot, you'll have to kind of put a little pressure on the bottom piece and help the top piece along. Okay, that's only if you have matched them up and you follow them down and you can see, we can see like that. So we have the bottom is pulling more than the top. So I'm going to help counteract that. And I'm doing this with just these 2 fingers. So I am using the bottom one to kind of pull and to push the top one to give it a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to follow this down, match the 2 seams up. We're going to see if we're getting closer. Okay, here we are. So we will get this evened up. So you're not pulling a whole lot, just a little bit. So we don't want any puckering. What we're trying to do is to get them to both pieces of fabric under the foot at the same speed. Okay, and now you can see we're lined up. Okay, now we're going to flip it over and do the other side. And I'm not going to give an explanation, I'm just going to sew it because it's the same thing. Okay, do you guys like the videos from this angle, or would it be better if I was turned around facing you? Let me know, please. All right, so that's the bottom. Now we're gonna sew the top part. Okay, so here's our bodices. It's upside down. I always sew them up, I always hold them upside down. Okay, so I'm gonna sew the two sides and the top, the shoulder seams. Side seam, shoulder seams. Okay, there is the bodice, all sewed together. Now we're going to sew the sleeves and the cuffs and the neckband. Okay, now we're going to put the cuffs on the shirt. I'm going to turn it inside out. It's just easier for me to stick it on my arm. And then you're going to fold the cuff with wrong sides together. And we're going to slide it over the end, and you're going to match up. So the cuff seams and the shirt seam. I don't know if you can see that. So it'll look like that. So this is a hard angle. And you're going to sew them all three together. This is another thing that you've got to check as you go to see if you need to pull or adjust or whatever you need to do. You want to be checking the whole time you're sewing so you don't get to the end, around to where you started, and you've got too much or too little. There's your cuff sewn on. This is what it looks like. Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna get going fast here. I'm gonna fold the cuff. Slide it over the sleeve and line up all of the seams. I make sure that the seams are folded the same direction. Just makes it lay a little smoother. So I have this pattern, and the next one will probably be the last ones that I draw, and I'm going to send the rest of them off. But super excited because I am working on a pattern for the skirts with leggings under them. So you can make your own. There's a cuff. Also a swim dress. You bought your what? Skirt with leggings? Okay. Alright, now we're going to put the sleeves in. So we have 2 armholes. We're going to, this is the neck. Let's see if I can figure out how to show you how I do this. Okay, so here's the neck. I go in through this hole, the neck hole, over here to the sleeve hole, and I grab this seam. This is the armpit seam. So I got the seam right here, got the shirt, or the sleeve, and I got the seam, the sleeve seam, and I match them up together. Okay, and then I'm going to pull the shirt over, and I've got these 2 seams here together, and then I'm going to sew it down. Whoops. Okay, same thing with the sleeve. Because it's knit and it stretches, I always check. So I'm gonna check and make sure the sleeve is gonna fit in the hole. So it looks like it's gonna fit, if not be a little big. Let me show you a trick. If the sleeve is a little big for the hole, what I do is I will trim a little off of the sleeve, slide it to the, let's see. If you slide it one way or the other, Jenny, slide it. The comments will go one way or the other. I think that's the way it does. I think that's what it does. So if the sleeve is too big, you can lay the sleeve over on, you know, hang it off a little and trim. Okay, I only do this around the top part of the shoulder. So you can, if you can eyeball it, and you can just kind of trim it off. If you do it enough times, you can do it real easy. Whoa. See, I just did it. because this is so slick and it's pulling the bottom faster than the top. Okay, so there's your sleeve in. Okay, trying to get the, all right, so we're gonna do the same thing. So here is our sleeve that does not have a sleeve in it. So we're gonna go in here and you're gonna grab this side seam. This is the armpit seam. And here's our shirt sleeve seam. We're gonna match them together. Okay, and then I'm gonna pull this over the top of the sleeve. That way we have right sides together. The sleeve and it's in the sleeve hole. So then we're gonna sew it down. Start at the seams. This seems so simple. I hope somebody gets something out of this. I almost feel silly. Okay. All right, I'm gonna check. If the sleeve does not fit, if it's too big, you can always trim some off. If it's too small, take it out, re-sew it, slightly pulling on whichever part was, if it's just a little bit, you can work it in. Okay, so I've got a little bit too much sleeve here, so I'm gonna take the stitching out here. I'm gonna back it up a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. There's two threads. There's two threads if you want to take this out really easy. There's two straight threads. It's these two right here that go down the stitch. All you got to do is cut those two and then lift it, pull it out, pull it out, and it just like unzips all that thread. Super easy, okay? So now this is a trick. If you get to the end and you have a little bit too much of something, take the stitching out a little bit, and it usually you can work it right in. Okay. Okay, there's our bodice with sleeves. All right, now this is the part that I dread because I don't think this is gonna look good. This is why I use a cover stitcher, okay? So on some knits, that's like a jersey or t-shirt kind of knit, these neckbands work great. If it's something like this ITY, usually folding the neckband and sewing it on there, it wants to roll. So usually when I use this kind, I only sew one edge down and then I fold it and do the cover stitch on the neck like this. See my shirt? But for the sake of this video, we're gonna do it like the pattern says, but I want you to keep that in mind that I may have to take it out and do it the other way just because of the type of fabric it is. Okay, also like a heavier fabric, a heavier knit won't have this problem as much. It's this thin, really slick, really stretchy kind. Another thing is you can take the, if your neckband wants to twist, you may have to cut your neckband longer. All right, so I folded it in half, the neckband, it's folded in half. We're gonna match this seam up with a shoulder seam on the neck hole. Okay, then we're gonna sew it down. The neckband is smaller than the neck hole. Okay, so on non-woven fabrics, you have to make the neckband smaller because it has to stretch to go over your head, and then you want it to go back. So you don't want this neck hole as big as your head. You want it to like shrink back. So it has to be smaller, and because it's knit, it will draw back up and make your neck like it's supposed to be. Okay, so while I'm sewing this down, because the neckband's smaller, you have to pull the neckband while you're sewing it. If you pull it too hard, you're gonna have twisting. So there's like a fine line here. If you just have to do it and play with it and figure out, like, it's different with each kind of fabric. So it's hard to just like. The only way that one size fits all for neckbands is if you sew it one edge down and then you use the cover stitcher to do that. That's why I just use this machine, because then I don't have to worry about what kind of fabric it is, if it's gonna twist or not. I just go ahead and just do this and I'm done. Okay, so we're gonna see if this is gonna work. It worked beautifully on this other dress. I'll show you. Okay, so here's an example of what I'm talking about. So this is the neckband that we're doing. See how it's this piece? Okay, and this is the one that I was talking about where I just do these because I don't ever have to worry about it rolling. So this is the cover stitch machine. I don't know if we can see that. Whoops, let me turn it this way. Okay. So that is the two neckbands. And I'm going to do a video that just shows neckbands so you can reference that really, and it won't be really long. You won't have to sort through this thing. Okay, but that's my disclaimer. I hate neckbands too. You'd think there'd be something easier. Also, you have to press, not iron, but press your neckbands. And then the problem with this kind of fabric is you can't use high heat on it. So another reason that I just do the cover stitcher. Because if you can't press it, which you can but you have to put cloth between it. Otherwise, this kind of fabric will sear. Whoop. This neckband, I didn't pull it enough. Okay, so here's a perfect example. So you get to see me make a mistake, which is nothing new. Okay, same exact, I want to show you. This dress is like a jersey. It's like it's actually brushed poly. Okay, so it's more like a t-shirt fabric. These two dresses were cut from the exact same pattern, exact same length on neckband. This one was a perfect fit. This one is already showing me it's not a perfect fit. Okay, so I'm gonna take it out some because look, I didn't pull it enough. All right, so I'm gonna back it out to right here. Okay, this is where people that are new to sewing get frustrated and quit. But this is just part of it. Like, it's like there's so many variables. Unless you just sew with the exact same kind of fabric every single time, it's going to be different. I mean, this is the same pattern. Everything's the same except the fabric's different. Okay? So I may possibly have to cut a bigger neckband. Okay, I am ripping out. Isn't this better than using a seam ripper? Okay, because watch this. This is my favorite part. Watch this. Just comes undone. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to do it again. It's still sewed on there a little bit, just to hold it. But I'm going to pull the neckband even harder. Okay, so the difference in this fabric and the plaid fabric, this is stretchier than this. So I didn't have to stretch the plaid one as much as I'm going to have to stretch this one. So keep that in mind. If you do this, it's okay. You're not doing something wrong. It's just Murphy's Law. Now it's fitting. Oop. I need to back that out just a little. Okay, so I already know I'm not going to like this. So I'm going to show you. Oh, hey, it's better than I thought it would be. What? Ta-da! Okay, we was fixing to rip this out and use the cover stitcher, but it worked. Okay. So I had to take it out and pull it harder than the last one that I made. So there's your tip. Okay. All right, now we're almost completely done. We just have to sew the bottom on and then we have to hem it. Okay. All right, so we're gonna sew the bottom on. This seems pretty self-explanatory, but I'm gonna show you anyway. Okay, we're gonna match up the side seams of the dress with the side seams of the bottom of the bodice. Okay, we're gonna match the two side seams up. Right sides are together. And then you're just gonna sew it down. Same thing. We're going to check periodically while you're sewing, and you're going to check and make sure that these other side seams are going to match up to see if you need to pull on anything. Ease in. That's the word. Okay? We don't pull. always like to go past where I started sewing for a little ways, just, I don't know, about an inch or two. Okay. Now, the dress is all sewn together. Okay. Now we're going to hem it, and it's done. This is where I swap out machines. You could use this machine and do a rolled hem. So the way you would do that is you would take out this left needle, and then there's a little attachment in here. You push a button and this comes out. And then you're going to turn your settings on. There's the R for roll. This depends on how tight you want the threads together. So 4 is spaced as far apart as the threads can go. Just turn it towards whatever you want. Okay, and then you can turn this to R, and that's for roll hem. And that's one way that you can do the hem. Or you could use this gem. Okay, this is a cover stitch machine. It's worth every penny. Or you can look up your machine type and find, Google your machine and stretch stitch. Well, actually with this skirt, or the bottom of this dress being as full as it is, you could probably just use a regular, just like, you know, just straight stitch, because it's not like the bottom of a pencil skirt that needs, you know, needs to be able to stretch. Okay, so we only use 3 threads on this one. I've showed you before, you got to make sure this arm is pushed over, it's locked. So this is unlocked, this is locked. We're going to put these 2 on 4. Make sure they're all on 4. And this machine, you cannot back tack on sergers or the cover stitch machine. So we're going to do that with straight pin and a pair of scissors. Okay, so I'm gonna take the smallest hem possible on this because it stretches. Okay, so we don't want to take a big wide hem and it's cut on a curve. So we're gonna take a very narrow hem. We don't want any rolling. Okay. So this machine is quite a bit different because I've got to look at the bottom while I'm sewing. I've got to... Okay. Now I'm going to tie this off where it started. Make sure my needles are down. I'm going to find this 2 threads that's on the front and pull them down, pull them to the back. And tie them in a knot, cut them off. I wish I could just like put this on high speed. This part is just annoying. Okay, here we go. Whoops. Let's see here. We have hummingbird wars going on outside the window. If you hear noises, that's what it is. I'm going to sew right back over where I started. I'm going to turn these first two dials to 0. I'm going to lift the foot, release this arm, lift the needles, release the arm, lift the foot. I'm going to grab the threads and pull it. And I'm going to cut. Then I'm going to set it back up. Push that back in. Put these back on 4. And we're done with that. Okay, so now we've got to tie these off. So we got to find the threads that's on the front and pull them to the back and then tie them in a knot. Oops. I do not know how this stuff is made in China on an assembly line, because there's no way somebody's doing this on like 500 dresses a day. Okay, so we are, sorry, tying it in a knot. We're gonna cut it off. Oh, I cut my finger. Okay. And there is our hem. Looks like that. It needs to be pressed. Okay. Let me show you what we just sewed up. Oops, sorry. Here it is. This is the dress. I'd get on the bar, but I don't think it'd make it look any better. Okay. All right. I hope that was helpful. I will now try to go read the comments and see if you guys have any questions. Okay. Come right back because I have more tutorials to do right after this one.